would I be able to hear you all? We'll wait for 3 minutes, but quickly we'll do some kind of an expectation setting, as in what do you think you're going to get out of this workshop? Or like, why did you choose to come here? I need a marker, which unfortunately I don't have.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Shia, what do you think that we are going to do today? Oh, and I have been told before that, I'm supposed to introduce myself. I'm Rajarshri. I'm actually an architect, then an industrial designer, then an UX designer. I work in ThoughtWorks as an XD, which they call experience designer, and I teach as a visiting faculty in a couple of design schools, Symbiosis being the closest. And I'm a mentor with an org called Inskill.org, who go into different engineering colleges and talk about design. That's a quick thing. Yeah. And let's come back. What do you expect from this workshop? As in, all of you, I believe, are QAs. Any other roles here? Dev. You're a dev, right? So, what do you think? Like, we are going to cover in like, have you checked the UX quality?
Probably something to do with user acceptance.
User acceptance in terms of accessibility,
In a way,
and
generally, if the elements that are there on the page,
yeah.
how confirming they are with respect to.
So what you might mean is, if you are designing an interface for a WWF wrestler, it should reflect his mindset and not be something very ethnic or something very religious, stuff like that, right? Yes, true. That's to some extent. So elements and a relation with the elements, right?
Right.
Relation of whom? The user. What else?
Intuitive.
Intuitiveness, yeah. That's actually a part more of UX rather than UX quality.
Right.
So what we are trying to do here is, say you are working in a very lean fashion where you have a very small team, you have a BA, you have say devs, and you have a QA, and you don't have an UX, right? So what do we do in a scenario like that? Could you apply some rules of thumb? Like you said, it's out of common sense. So if you are designing for a particular group of users, you would see that it's addressing his mindset or his needs, right? So yeah, can we just pull our chairs or just get down from the chairs and sit the way we like to? Because that will wake all us up, because we had our lunch. I don't know how the lunch was because I didn't have mine. By the way, we have Preeti and Ashwini to help me, and actually to help us when we are doing some bit of evaluation, or we are going into the second half of this session, where we learn how to evaluate an interface and understand what are the fixes we would probably do. This works? I'll use this. Okay, so have you checked the UX quality is what it's called. But are we clear on what on earth is UX? And what do you think is UX? A quick thing on that. Just to understand that we are on the same page and our understandings are clear about what is user experience.
The experience that the user gets once he comes to the site.
Is it necessarily a website is the question? As in,
any piece of, anything that he's using.
Interface. What else can be an experience? As in, if I ask you to sleep in the mid-berth of a train, which is 3-tier, non-AC, would you have good experience as compared to if I give you an AC chair car? Which one is a better experience?
It's a tough one.
Depends upon the distance of journey.
Depends upon the distance. So it's a factor, right? Let's assume that the distance of journey is same. Which one would you prefer?
Then it's
3-tier. Obviously, you can sleep, right?
Okay, if I say that I'll give you a sleeper 2-tier, which is a better experience?
Sleeper 2-tier.
Okay, so experience need not necessarily be with interfaces. It can be with anything. As in, if I throw this pen on you, you will feel bad about it. You will have a bad experience about this session as well as about me. Okay, so expectations we have kind of got, but this is like, what is quality? you guys would know better rather than what's quality. We know quantity and we know quality, right? Quantity is some bit of measurable parameters, and quality is, when we are doing software testing, it's those measurable parameters, how they're reflecting into a qualitative thing, into the feeling of a stuff, into say a stuff is robust or a stuff is delicate, or it's more of the softer side, but tested via some quantitative parameters. So what is this? This is bad quality or good quality? Very bad quality, right. And what is this? Good quality. I'll ask this question to you. Which one do you think is a better experience? That one, right? So you know which one gives you a better experience and a better quality, I suppose, as well.
Yes.
That's okay. I don't need so much of gadgets. When I ask some students what is quality, they give me this as an answer. So I thought of putting this here as well. Which is good quality. And what are the parameters you're considering? Hygiene is a parameter. The quality of the food is a parameter. The efficiency of the chef is a parameter. So which is a good quality? I love jalebis though, so I'll go for jalebis. That depends on the user you're talking to. So this is a picture of a mom giving first aid to the daughter. So what do you think are the qualities that a mom has? And do you think there is any relation with you all as quality analysts and the care which a mother gives? As in, is there a care to, if I assume that the software is like a child and you are the mom of the family, as in, is there a relation somewhere?
Nurture.
It's supposed to be a two-way session. It's a workshop. It's not a lecture. So I'm not supposed to be the only one who's speaking.
Nurturing.
And you are not supposed to be speaking right now. I want some answers from here.
First thing is I want my software to be strong enough. Like,
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
mother
Yeah.
expects his child to be
Yeah.
strong enough. That's
So
the first thing.
what is she doing here? As in, if the child is hurt and she has to do something to ensure that the child is strong, the wound is healed, the defects are fixed, what is she doing here necessarily?
Yeah, here she's trying to tell a child that I'm with you always, and
Great, great.
yeah, you have been hurt, but I'll take care of you.
How is she taking care? Someone else? How is she taking care? What is she essentially giving?
She's understanding the problem. It's what
She's understanding the problem. What is she doing to address the problem? She is giving something called first aid. Right? So kind of these first aids are actually helping in making the child well, strong, healing the problem, addressing the problem. So if we look at a cycle where, or look at a structure where quality is determined by three pillars called time, functionality, and resources. And if we come back to this model where I don't have an UX, so what I lack is resources. Could there be an UX first aid so that I can fix those problems in the absence of a designer? I don't have budget. I'm working on a redesign project. 60 to 70% of these addresses, could they be addressed or fixed in a certain manner? There's a small disclaimer. Whatever we are going to talk in the next few slides, they are not my property. They are done by some HCI experts. Some designers believe that if you speak about this to other people, you are like making UX a commodity. It's a different school of thought. I belong to a different school of thought where knowledge is free. Everyone is free to access whatever you want to. And what's the harm if you can give some first aid? These are the two great guys. Do we have some problem with the projector? It's squeezing stuff actually. One is called Don Norman and the other is called Jacob Nielsen. They are HCI experts who have been working in the domain of accessibility, usability of interfaces for like, the profession is like 15 years old and they are like the pioneers in it. Interestingly, Don Norman also has written a book called Design of Everyday Things, which talks about usability of stuff. So it talks about like how can a cup be functional or how a jug can be non-functional. That's not the story for today. What we are going to discuss today is are actually the 10 heuristics or the 10 rules or recommendations they have kind of proposed. Claris, I believe, has an UX team. And have you guys done any kind of accessibility testing or usability testing, or how do you deal with UX designers? When you release a software, do you get the UX folks, or it's the quality analyst who only does the quality check?
So there are two kinds of testing here.
This is more of manual testing. This is not.
No, I understood that. But when you talk about usability, again, there are two kinds of testing. The thing which you're talking about, designer part, is again a separate testing. When it comes to quality, then again, one part is the judgment part, which is again the intuitiveness and comes from experience. Comes from broad knowledge of different products which we use. And the other part is things which we know are standardized, rule-based things. Like, when you get the whether it is either the wireframes which you get, or whether it is the first mock-up or first code piece which will deliver to you, and the way things like how many steps does an interaction take to kind of complete, how easy it is for a person to understand what is going on, whether there is, help where it is supposed to be, is abstractness being taken care of or not. So as testers, we make sure that we cover those parts, but when it comes to the color part and the look and feel part and the color understanding and the other visual understanding part and all that is where the designers use.
Because today we are also going to talk about something called visual ergonomics quickly, where we'll take care of the color part. Say you are designing for a colorblind person, or the example which I was talking about downstairs, you are designing for a person who's a construction worker, you have designed some kind of automation software for him, he's operating a crane and he's working in broad daylight. So what should be the screen contrast be, or like how the color scheme can be tweaked so that he's able to see, or if he's colorblind, how will you take care of that? But what I understand is like you kind of pair with an UX designer and some bit is left to him and some...
So actually there are different reviews altogether. Dev reviews, the QA reviews, again functionality, regression and all that, and then we have this usability where we talk about both the things which I said. And then there is a design review, which is again not just it is an entire product review. So there it's not just the look and feel, it's also about understanding the product. Like for example, let's take OTA as an example. So if we take OTA, then what happens is some people feel that you should directly do the OTA without asking the user. And some people feel that you should inform the user because there might be critical updates which the software needs. And you cannot ask the user not to, update, because then the backward compatibility for n number of devices will become difficult to maintain. And some people feel that you should ask because the person is going to get charged whenever they download an update, right? So then that again is somewhere the QA also comes in and the designer also comes in, because we are all owners of the product.
True, but I would be happy if someone else answers. What do you do if you don't have a designer? As in, how do you deal with it? As in, you are seeing that there's a problem, and your client is telling you there's a problem, but still you have to ship it out like that, and you know that it might come back and bounce back at you. What do you usually do?
Do it yourself.
Yeah, do it yourself, right? How do you know what all do you need to fix? Probably you will use your common sense, probably you will use your aesthetic sense, right? But this is like a checklist of stuff, set of 10 parameters, when superimposed with another 3-4 parameters, it kind of takes care of 60 to 70% of the interfaces. What we intend to do now is we'll run through all these parameters very quickly in say 10-15 minutes. Then we'll look at an interface of a website and try to see what are the defects in that website and see if we are able to map these understandings onto that website. The first parameter says that visibility of system status. If you take a real life example, it's like when a bomb is about to burst, if I can see that wick burning down, I know what's going to happen. So in terms of interfaces, if there's a loading screen and I don't show this to the user, he might get frustrated. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. But if I tell him that, hey, it's loading, you're halfway through, or it's almost done, you're almost there, he's kind of assured that something's going to happen. This is one check. Second is match between the system and the real world. What I mean by this is, there are traffic lights, right? A green means you can go, a red means that stop, and an amber means that look, slow, and then wait. Similarly, in an interface, do you find a relation? So whatever we design, as in instead of a green dot, if I put a red dot there, it will communicate a completely different meaning. We are kind of accustomed to what we see in the real world. So when we are designing interfaces, we should also check that do this comply to whatever we know from our real world examples. The third one, user control and freedom. What is peculiar about this guy in this picture? Yeah, yeah, right. He has the liberty to open it and wear it the other way, right? And he has the flexibility, right? So in an interface, if I'm designing a graphic software, I should have some bit of flexibility. I should be able to undo and redo and check which one is good and which one is bad, and then decide. I have the liberty to do it, but it should be as easy as taking off your t-shirt and flipping it inside out or outside in and wearing it the way you want to. Fourth, consistency and standards. What does it mean, by the way? What might it probably mean?
The progress example which you took.
Yeah.
For one operation it shows all this and the other operation it doesn't. So that is consistency.
Yeah.
It should be.
What about this?
Yeah.
Wherever we see this, we kind of make sense out of it, right?
Yeah.
Does this make equal sense? This is, I don't know which is male, which is female. Are females always supposed, all angels are females? I don't know. So, this is one thing which we are like known with. So, like Windows 8, when they got rid of this, there was a huge cry as in to bring back this feature. So there should be consistency across systems. So then if this means something, it should mean something in everywhere. Like Microsoft does it to a lot, as in your shortcut to create a new file is like consistent across all their systems, or Control-Z works across all their systems. Error prevention. What can it possibly mean? Does this make sense? If you are pressing a fire alarm button, it doesn't get pressed just like that. You have to do one action, then which is like breaking the glass, then you actually do the action. Or if you look at this example where a 3-pin plug, you're not able to insert it in any other manner. That's the only way possible. In terms of an interface, if I can segregate my functions, as in my play button will never act as an equalizer, or an equalizer will never act as a play button, or the stop button is separate from the play button, or the login button is separate from the cancel button, or the delete button. So if that's taken care of, like there's a lot of error prevention. You block the actions or you segregate the actions in certain manner. When did we start? Okay. Recognition rather than recall. Has anyone faced this? Or has anyone come across this at least? If I see beware of dog, I know like there's going to be a danger. I won't cross the fence and go into there. So these are recognized. If I click that bin button, it means that it's going to delete. Or if I click those gear-like shapes, it's going to take me to settings. So there's recognition. What I mean by that is like my cognitive load, or in simpler terms, I don't think what it is, but I know what it is. So if I show a tick mark, it's like, okay, it's correct. It will never mean that it's wrong. So my interface is complying with these stuff. Flexibility and efficiency of use. Okay, that's very heavy. What is this? Oh, what's the first one? And what do you do with a hammer and nail? Huh? You make a hole, right? Or you can also nail. What do you do with the drill? You make another hole, probably. So what's the difference between the two? And who can use it? And who can use this? How many of you have actually used a drill? The point here is, when you nail with a hammer, you have much greater control if you are a novice user. But with a drill, if you are not an expert or a mid-expert user, you tend to break the drill bit, which is the head of the drill. So this parameter says that there should be flexibility of use for expert users as well as novice users. So if I'm a beginner, I should be able to do it my way. If I'm an expert, I should be able to do it that way. What I mean is, I don't need to click always on buttons to undo an action or redo an action. I can use keyboard shortcuts like Control-Z or Control-R. Or some kind of a hotkey which will help me do a task which I would have otherwise done by clicking a button. This one is interesting. I have hidden her face, but what do we gather from this? The content, imagine, is the lady, and all the decoration over it are the flowers or the hat she's wearing. So this talks about aesthetic and minimal design. I can keep stuff simple and yet communicate the fact. Coming to an interface example, this probably is a very clean UI. But then again, it depends on the context. If I'm designing a game, I would love to have a flashy interface. I cannot go with a minimal design. So when we are checking along these parameters, it doesn't mean that all these 10 have to be satisfied, but with the kind of content I'm dealing with, I'll tweak it, or I'll use whatever are valid and whatever are not valid, I'll just keep it aside. The ninth one, help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. What I think is this, as in it says that if you have what it takes to be an engineer in the Air Force, call the number below. That's a very long, strange mathematical equation which I have to solve to get a number. Imagine if this happened with error messages. My users don't understand what is 0x800 whatever. But error messages which are more friendly, which are more suggestive, say Word was unable to open the document, try doing this, which are kind of helpful, kind of guiding the user that what might be the possible problem and what you can do to overcome the problem. The last one, help and documentation. How many of you have read Renan Martin's High School English Grammar and Composition? Some of the stuff there were tough, so we had a key book. So even with interfaces, is there help available if I need help? He has died, but it was a good example that when you need help, it pops up suggestion, or somewhere it's curated. With these 10 parameters, now what? What do we do now? We do what is called a severity rating. What it is like, say, here you have your parameters, okay? Say parameters 1 to 10, right? And you try to understand how severe is the problem in a scale of 1 to 4. The first parameter, as in first severity, would be like frequency in which the problem occurs, as in is it a recurrent problem, does it need to be fixed? The impact of the problems and how much difference does the problem make to a standard solution or a solution different from it? And the last one is the persistence of a problem. It keeps coming back again and again, I need to fix it. So based on these, I do a severity rating, which is like 0 is I don't care. Like there's one button on one corner of a screen which one user uses while using the software probably 1,000 times. And then I remember once I played Half-Life and there was one corner where I went and I pressed the key, space bar key 11 times and the character won't move. And then it's like a very odd and rare case. So those we can probably leave out, and which are major usability problems, we kind of fix it. So what we do here is we kind of map. If this is the first parameter, usually there are 3 evaluators, we call them. And heuristic evaluation is done not in groups but by individuals, but usually we have 3 evaluators. And whatever is the finding from there, it's kind of mean or averaged, and then you kind of fix the rating and hence suggest that this needs to be fixed. What I mean by that is it a must-have, is it a good-to-have, or it's okay, I can bypass it, something like that. And based on this, we create a map. Say these are ratings by first, second, and third evaluator, and probably this is the mean. So the mean results would be taken care of, and this is of low priority, you can fix it later. This is of high priority, fix it first. Now the interesting part. Shall we look at an UI and try to understand what probably and possibly all the problems are that we discussed? Yes, she will.
Do you want to divide the groups?
No. What we'll do is do we have an extra laptop?
Yeah, we do.
We have an extra laptop. What we would request you is go to a website called goindigo.in. Right? Though heuristic evaluation is done at an individual level, here we'll split ourselves into groups. We have 2 laptops. You can use mine and others can use the other one. Split yourselves into 2 groups and book a ticket for one person and book a travel insurance for him. Right? This is the task that you are doing. Find out what problems do you face and could they be mapped to whatever we saw there, or at least even if you don't map, just find out, list down those problems. We'll see how those are mapped. So I'll take you to, can I pull this up just like that?
Yeah, I'll accept it.
Or you guys can gather around here.
Can you just move that?
It would be good if you can get, otherwise for the time being we can just come in. And yep, just get a chair, make yourself comfortable. Try booking a ticket.
Or you can
And in the meantime, if you need any kind of help, just buzz. Your task is you're booking one ticket for one male or female from destination A to destination B, and you're booking a travel insurance for it. Don't actually book the ticket. As in, just go till payment, don't pay. Or you can book a ticket for me, I can give you my details. So that's a task, and find out what are the problems you faced while doing that, right?
So I
Yep.
want one person to note down the problems that we come across, and one person to volunteer and book in the ticket. Will you do that?
If you roughly remember the 10 stuff we talked about, you can relate to it, or we can pick up the problems and then relate to them later on. We can do it either way.
So so you can go to the side. The 3 of 4 of you can share that. And someone from your group can note down the problems that is trying. For the Wi-Fi, vodQA at so let's start booking one.
By the way, we have another laptop, so if a couple of you want to come here and
To make 3 groups.
create another ghetto, you can do it.
So let's try. Yeah, sure. Remember we were
You want to come? You have to book an insurance.
Yeah.
If you want, you can take screenshots or you can capture it whichever way you want. How many of you have booked via Indigo before? How was your experience? Could you book your ticket finally?
Yeah.
We can also make it select any date. Start and end. One adult is okay. And then let's search for it.
Don't guide them. Let them do the mistakes. You can also try booking.
What do you want to do now?
Yeah, I know, but I started 10 minutes late. I'm saying that. Okay. Yep. I can bleed for 5 minutes.
So someone can note down the points. Where's the next button?
आप कैमरा को थोड़ा उधर लेके कैप्चर कर सकते हैं क्या? ये ओके ओके
Properly.
टेस्ट नहीं ಅದು ತಗೋಯೇನೋ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಲೋರ್ ಅಂಡ್
So we would like to book one ticket for one adult.
Only.
Yeah, one way. Whatever.
You can take yourself as a use case where
It's okay. Take another.
want to at the disability assistance. Whatever.
Look at this. How do we go to work?
That is also scheduled concept.
अरे वो
Combo box.
जो सिलेक्टेड था वहाँ से शुरू हुआ. If this you select something from here and then you click here, then see how it opens. The upper ones are not.
No, I said flight provider. So
Flight provider,
SpiceJet,
yeah.
Air
Yeah,
India,
yeah,
MGC.
yeah. Indigo actually has a very severe problem, which we'll come to if Sachin kind of clicks on that button.
You should
I
try
don't
out
know.
Air India. Then you'll realize
I
that
have never booked one.
Air India has a much worse problem.
Okay.
Next and previous होने ही चाहिए। अगर आप चाहें तो
टर्म्स में पे कर दो नेवर माइंड में भी क्लिक कर दो
travel insurance.
It's actually
Don't tell them how to book the travel insurance. They are supposed to book the travel insurance, but you are not supposed to guide them.
the resolution is there, right? Okay, so
Is this a link?
I don't see any
I
link.
think this should be customizable, right?
Yeah, it's link and it's really difficult to understand.
Number of adults can be any.
Yeah.
Right.
I have 20 people, 20 friends are going together. They should
So we are just going to the booking the ticket.
Click
So
on this one.
they should not be hard coded to one to
this is
one.
the first step right now.
So should this be.
It should have a different
So should
Are you able to book?
Maybe I'm going out Saturday.
Okay. You have to book. We have 5 more minutes to book the ticket. Your ticket should be booked in 5 minutes. And then you should at least reach the payment page. We have 5 more minutes to book a ticket.
So are you go for the
Did you book the insurance? Okay. Great, great. You can fill in dummy data. It's okay.
Nothing is. Let's fill all the things. We have only 5 minutes. So yeah.
Don't discuss. Yeah, go for it. Did you go for it? Okay, what happened? Okay. So go for it. Ideally, should have added that value to your ticket, right? Did it? Now try no thanks. This won't probably take as an email address. It will ask for an @ the rate.
Yeah, they are providing no, it's not mandatory.
At the rate.
It has to put in star only.
At the rate.
You are pretty exact. How many of you have reached the insurance page?
So it wasn't
Have you booked your insurance?
Yeah, so that's the problem.
Have you successfully booked your insurance? Okay.
So already booked the tickets.
The color should be different. It's a link.
So based on the 10 parameters that we just saw, the consistency. So try to figure out what all were missing on the UX point of view. For first size, we have this
3 minutes to book the ticket.
first one is
Are you able to see your date of birth? Did you enter it correctly?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
How do you know?
Even this is
What did you enter as your title?
just selected.
Okay.
Only one.
yes or no?
No, thank you.
Try selecting one more option.
I don't see any issues.
What are you paying for? Are those items or what are they?
Promotion code.
So were you able to book the insurance?
Those actually are not items. Those are
Just add one.
Insurance, okay, I'll just
but it's not distinct.
Okay, so you only
Following passengers are eligible
insurance from
for
Tata.
travel
Yeah.
insurance.
Those are also insurance from Tata AIG, but it's kind of an advertisement. But
The
it's
kind of insurance.
made to look in such a manner that like you feel like those applicable items.
Sure, just continue. Okay.
You're fast.
No.
You have 2 more minutes to book your ticket.
You have made the following
What happened?
travel insurance. I'll just
You did not know what happened, right? So you did not have a visibility of your system status.
choose the travel insurance.
Is there any help?
So we want to get the travel insurance.
Wait.
oh yeah.
You choose which best service.
You said
So we freeze. We are time up, right? Did you book your ticket? Great. Did you book your ticket? Okay, one moment. Just it's okay, right? Up to here was नहीं payment नहीं payment करना है तो मेरे tickets ठीक है. So could you book your insurance? No. Right. Freeze. Freeze. Hello. Yep. Done. Hi. Sachin and team and Anisha and team and Indira and team and what's your Ketan? Okay. What was your finding? Very quickly. 1 minute.
Please written it down.
What was your finding?
Amol has it written.
How much? First, you say how much you were able to do. What are the problems you faced in your path, and how was your experience? If you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5.
0.
Anyway, yeah, quickly. While I pull up the PPT.
I just read out. So first thing was there was so much information, so most of the time went into the reading that information, and then again some things were not visible, like that bird date and all these things, and also like other things are some of the mandatory things were like mobile and phone number. This shouldn't be mandatory, but they were mandatory there. And,
Great. What else? Could you book your insurance?
Nope.
no.
What happened when you tried booking your insurance?
Started prompting us for some weird dialogue.
You had 2 buttons, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what were those buttons?
Got it and no thanks.
Okay, so what
When we
might
clicked on
those
got it,
buttons
nothing
probably
happened.
mean?
Wrong messaging. It was
Wrong
just-
messaging, right? So go for it, though it said that, it probably would have
Yes.
meant that yes, but
It
you
actually
still
meant
couldn't
no.
book your tickets.
Yeah.
What was your finding? Could you book your insurance?
No, actually the font was too small.
Yeah.
So we could not means these also, and then there was no next button and previous button. to
Okay.
go for
So if I can summarize, you didn't have a visibility of the system status. You did not have a relationship with real world examples. You did not have consistency across
Yeah.
screens.
Yeah.
What else?
help was not there.
Help was not available. Anything to do with error messages?
Yeah, they were not clear.
They were not clear. What
and
else?
No thanks and that insurance which is no.
Yeah.
thanks.
What happened? Could you book your insurance?
No.
Yes,
Means,
yes.
Why?
We could book
We
the
could
insurance.
buy
The amount
on-
did get added to our list, but it was in a wrong message,
Wrong
right?
message.
Can
No,
you
thanks.
can you share the experience with? That is actually a very critical problem. I don't
Yeah.
know if Indigo realizes, or even if Tata AIG realizes, but they are losing out a lot of business because probably people actually don't end up getting the insurance.
Right.
What was? Could you elaborate? As in, why you could not book the insurance, and if you could, what did you do to book the insurance?
I did no thanks.
And was it booked then?
Yeah, the
So-
amount did get added to my.
So is
billing.
there a problem with the error message?
Yeah, there's a problem with the
And
error
how
message.
critical do you think this business?
It is very critical
critical.
because
Great.
generally generally what a user would do is he would generally like to accept it. If he's willing to opt it,
Yeah.
he would say yes, I want to got it.
So
like,
go for
whatever
it
the message
might be
was.
an
But
equivalent
go
of
for
yes.
it, right?
So
You
there's a
would never
problem
go
with
for
the
no.
messages, or there might be a problem how the message is tagged to the action.
Yeah.
It may be we have to go and check a bit more
I
detail.
think the developer is
Yeah.
smart.
What was your finding? What was your finding?
We again lot of information but not correctly displayed. We were finding it very troublesome to find the cities very.
Could you book your ticket?
No, we were in that no thanks wala screen only.
Okay, okay.
Because we were actually fettling, we were trying to whether the flight is available from this destination to this destination or not. We were not very clear on that, whether it is a date problem or there is no flight existing between these two cities or not. That kind of thing. It was not very clear at all.
Okay.
So, and then the second thing which we found out was that if I wanted to book for say more than 9 people, I have a team of like my entire company wants to travel.
But the test which was given to you was booked for one person. So we'll keep that aside for the time. It's a valid thing, we checked it out, but for
and then the next screen, when we were trying to, we didn't accept the terms and conditions and we tried to go ahead. Although we were in the bottom of the screen, it was constantly kind of focusing back to something which was already selected. So that was like, there was a lot of unnecessary navigation which we had to go through to go to the next step, which was not really required.
Okay, so the question to you is, if you did not know about the heuristics, or if you did not know about these parameters, how would you have presented these problems? And now that you know about the heuristics, do you think it would be easier for you to map your problems to a certain kind of heuristic? And then what's your take on that?
So the first lot of information one is definitely, I would say,
that's a common sense.
Yeah.
But others say, then would it be useful if you could do some kind of sorting of your problems based on the heuristics? And then do you think it would be helpful or it won't be helpful?
Yeah, definitely. At least, the one which we talked about, the accessibility one and the way, the whole thing. What we found out was, whatever we were selecting, if something mandatory was not selected, the focus was not remaining there after the error message came. There was a lot of unnecessary navigation in which we ended up closing the tab and we had to open it again. That is why we ended up taking more time. So, such things, as a user, if I would have been booking this, I would have closed it. That I would have gone to some other site. So this was definitely...
So this was definitely not a good experience.
Right.
What I would request you all is to just, let's go back to one slide where we have this link to the source website. I should have put it on all the websites. For further reading, if you're actually practicing it, all the heuristics are listed here. Though they are not visualized the way we discussed it here with examples from a real world, say a bomb and then an interface, and try reading these heuristics. You'll also find heuristics which are specifically for mobile devices, or heuristics which are for web applications, or heuristics which are for enterprise applications. But more or less, if you check these 10 heuristics, broadly they cater to most of the interfaces which we deal with. Are you done? Then I'll quickly show you a couple of stuff around visual ergonomics, and then we'll push off. We have 10 more minutes, I guess. 15? Wow.
Are you putting this up on SlideShare?
No, because I haven't credited the owners of the pictures, and very few are actually by me. Like this is by me, but this is not by me. So I have to credit everyone before I can put it up, but I don't think I'll put it up.
Email them?
I can remove my name and share it.
That works.
And it's anyway free open source information. You can go to that web link. You'll find the descriptive bit of it, but not the illustrated part of it. And like if you talk to various designers, they'll vary on this, as in some might say these are not useful. So take it with that pinch of salt. Okay, has anyone heard of the term ergonomics? I mean, let's leave aside visual, as in what is ergonomics?
Design.
No. What is ergonomics?
Things that feel right. Like when you
what is geometry? What is metry? What is metric?
Something that you can measure.
Right? So ergonometry, if I break it, what is ergonometry? What is metry?
Metry is the system
measure, right? Some kind of measurements. Ergonomics is actually designing or engineering stuff based on anthropometric data. Anthropos is humans. Based on their data, how we get some guidelines or get some values for designing furniture, or designing human interfaces, designing a dashboard, or even designing a chair, anything. So, what might be the possible visual ergonomics parameters which we would consider while designing interfaces? Huh?
Visual look and
Look and feel is aesthetic. It is not metric. Aesthetic is more of a qualitative approach. Metric is more of a quantitative approach. So visual, if you are judging in terms of visual ergonomics, you can have a parameter that how pleasing or how soothing is the interface to the eye. But you won't say how beautiful it is. You can say how soothing it is. So it depends on resolutions and all. Yes, like if it's a low resolution display for a very old mobile phone, my icons should be designed in such a manner that in that small bit of information I'm able to identify what it is. So that will be a visual ergonomic parameter. What else? How many of you have heard of this cartoon show called Pokemon? Great. The reason why I said it, if you search on YouTube, there's an episode of Pokemon which was banned. The reason was there were certain color schemes and certain scenes in that series which triggered epilepsy among children.
Strobe lighting.
Yeah. So that's a problem. That's a visual ergonomic problem. Even with the game Max Payne, there's a disclaimer which goes that if you have epilepsy, like please do not play this game. So we consider parameters. I can ignore that for some time. So when we are dealing with interfaces, we kind of look at color schemes or colors, and sometimes you will feel that hey, like this color doesn't go with that, but you actually don't know what is the problem. Probably you'll try to mix and match. These are kind of certain thumb rules which work. So say I'm wearing, whose example can I take? Anyone who will volunteer, I'll take his example. Someone has to volunteer. Okay, so she is wearing black and she is wearing blue, right? Essentially, black is an aggregation of all colors. What I mean by that is when light falls on it, all the wavelengths are absorbed. That's why it is black. So what she's wearing is monochromatic. That is, it has only one color, which is blue. So the Indigo website was an example of a monochromatic color scheme. So if I'm dealing with a monochromatic color scheme, how do I differentiate between different blocks? Probably I'll use shapes as a parameter. So we have to keep these little things in mind. Or if I'm using primary color scheme, or if I'm looking at the Windows 8 UI, they're like very bright like primary colors, but they're distinct from one another because if you look at the color wheel, what happens here is they are split from one another. They are not near families, so they are distinct families. So these actually are good thumb rules to understand what color schemes work and what do not work. What is this? How many of you are colorblind? How many of you can read the numbers? Random. Yeah. Read the number. You. 7. Next. Anyone? 6. Okay. Anyone who's not able to read any of the numbers other than Kushal? Huh?
73.
Are you able to read all the numbers? Right. So let's quickly take an example. The most common color blindness is among males, and it's called a red-green color blindness because the X chromosome actually bears the colorblind gene. So what happens is mostly males are colorblind, females are not. Red-green being the most common type of color blindness. Let's take an example of an interface where, I don't know what raster. Anyway, let's take it here. Say you have an interface where there's a soccer match going on in TV and penalty shots are being taken. And you have 5 penalty shots which are as circles, right? This field is green in color, right? And a hit is green and a miss is red. What do you think would be the problem for a colorblind person? Very easy, very simple. As in you are looking at a green on green and you are looking at a red on green and the person is colorblind and is male with red-green colorblindness. He is unable to distinguish. Probably if it's severe, he'll not even be able to see the field versus the shot. This is a problem with, there's this Windows sports app which they have come up with. It has the same exact problem. What might be the possible solution to address this? Change the color or change the color or. But if I change the color, am I relating for rest of the users? Am I relating to real world systems? A real world system relates to traffic signals. Sorry, I'm taking 5 more minutes. Where red means it's a miss, green means it's a go. So what can be the possible solution?
Overlay.
Huh?
Overlay the field.
Overlay for what? Like you will build, like you are designing a television. Everyone is sitting at home, right?
So
this is not on an interface. So what will you do? Huh? Put border might be one solution. Border of a different color, probably a black border. What else? That takes care of the green on green. But what takes care of the red on? We have seen something like that. What takes care of the distinguishing between red and green circles? Pick another shape or
Size.
shape, size. So you know, right, how to fix it. Or you can even have another additional symbol over it.
Right.
Some kind of stuff. But we know what is the problem and how to address it. Always magnified tools might not work. So if you're designing for a person with low vision, say he doesn't have 6x6 vision and he's not able to distinguish between say brown and say gray. So what would you possibly do? And then how would you check the contrast of a display? What do you usually do? And then if you are designing for a person with low visibility, how do you check the contrast? Huh? Big fonts. Big fonts with a magnifier you can magnify and see big fonts. But what if the font is black and the background is? How do you check? The question is around like how do you check the contrast is correct or not? The thumb rule is take a black and white printout of your screen. See the areas where you have overlapping zones. Can you reverse it? Can you add it as a 0? See what are the overlapping zones. Add a border or change the contrast, change the color based on whatever the color wheels we learned. See that they are not from the same family, they are not from a monochromatic family, they are diagonally opposite to each other so that there is a good contrast between my background and foreground. Yep, that's it. I finished before time always. Give me credit for that. Thanks to Preeti. Where's Ashwini? Ashwini, Kushal, and there's another guy called Rajiv. This is a talk which I usually give to design students, but I was wondering if it would make sense to quality analysts. I'm not sure till today. This was kind of a trial, but I guess it would help you, and definitely thanks to you. The last 5 minutes we'll take for questions, comments, and how we can improve in building better software. Fair? Any questions, comments, or anything that you expect and we did not meet with? Yeah, shoot.
There is one game or something which is having a fast moving objects.
Yeah.
So where the person who is having the specs or having like contrast colors are too much heavy for his eye. So what can be the better solution?
Possible. Okay. Let's take the example of a game called Snake, which used to come. Okay. So what he could do probably is he could play at a lesser speed. That is one option. He won't play it at the highest possible speed because he has some bit of accessibility problem, but my design has to be universal. So I would give the option of slowing down the speed of the fast moving object. He would probably play at a slower speed, or the other option could be that I design my shape in such a manner that though it is moving at a fast rate, I'm able to see it. Added to that, what I'll do is I'll remove the extra chrome. So if I'm designing a car or an interface with a racing game, right, which has all those silver linings or all the shades, reflections coming, I'll not keep it that way. I'll keep it to basic, very broad color schemes, as in red, black, absolute color schemes, primary color schemes, which are very distinct in terms of vision. But obviously they'll have a problem in playing a game. In fact, the same problem they'll have in doing real world activities. They'll not be able to do it at the same rate as a differently abled person would be able to do it. But there would be this problem. As in, you cannot fix it to 100%, but you can probably do some fixes so that he's able to like play that game or enjoy it to some extent. Anything else?
Other than experience, how can
QA analyst verifies that means the UI is as per the standards or following these?
There are certain other rules which you need to check. There's this guy called Luke Webrowski who writes about form designs. And most of the interfaces which we design are around forms. So you can look up, but he talks mostly around where should be a field name to the field box, what should be the layout of a page, where should my button be. If you take the Indigo example also, like say your fares were coming on the left, right, and the whole page was scrolling. Imagine if the left side of the page was static and only the right side was scrolling. It would have made much more sense. You are getting to see the value. So yes, those parameters can be taken care of by a QA. As like quick rules or quick fixes, you can read up what Don Norman says and what Luke Webrowski says. If you kind of apply them and like if you're doing it for some time, you can probably fix 60 to 70% of the problems. It's more like a first aid which you give. Then if it's a very severe problem, you'll need to go to a designer. Say, or if you're dealing with a mission critical problem, say you're designing a complete dashboard for a rocket which will go and land on Mars. So for stuff like that, you will need an expert.
Which are the tools used to create UX?
You don't have a tool actually to create UX, as in your if your question is around like mockups. Okay. For there are three kinds of mockups: low fidelity, mid fidelity, and high fidelity. For low fidelity mockups, what you need is just a pencil and paper. If you're not comfortable with sketching, you can use tools like Balsamic, or even like PowerPoint is a very powerful tool. What you need is just replicate the shapes or simply, even if you don't want to use PowerPoint, take screenshots from other websites, put them together, make it look like what you want to. Then you can give it to a visual designer who can make it into a proper visual which can be replicated. For mid-fidelity prototype, which is a click-through prototype, you can use tools like Axior or say Just in Mind or stuff like that. And high fidelity would mean that you are writing some dummy codes and making a click-through which can take in some data and also give back some results based on the checks.
Many times there are embedded systems also. It's not just one piece of software. There's
Yeah.
like a lot of hardware, a lot of other things. It's
Yeah.
a complete ecosystem.
Yeah.
So when we talk about UX, it's the complete experience as
Yeah.
a package.
Yeah.
So there, what happens is, like for example, if we are having a gaming thing, there'll be this hardware console also, and there'll be a lot of things there. So, of course, a lot of things again comes from experience, because you got to think from a gamer's perspective or a person who's using that. That, for example, the weight, the angle of the curve, the way you hold it, the easy flexibility, easy access to different keys and all that. That is the main thing. But what are other things which can help us give feedback? Because hardware feedback is something which you want
hardware
to
feedback is actually easy. It's not that difficult. Like practical interfaces or practical problems don't come to you saying that I'm a mechanical engineering problem or I'm a UI problem or a hardware problem. It's kind of mix of problems. So let's take, for example, the example of an elevator which has keys as well as a display. So I particularly did a mistake. Say I'm on the 3rd floor and the elevator is on the 6th floor, and there are 2 elevators. I have to go down. So I used to see that the elevator is on the 6th floor. What I thought was I have to call the elevator down first. So I landed up pressing the down button, whereas my display showed that the elevator was coming down and it actually would take me up, not down. So these are mismatch between how a hard button is perceived vis-a-vis a soft button. A good example is the door handle of a fire escape, which kind of works with the user's action, as in when you press it while rushing out, you are kind of activating the door handle. There are a lot of door handles which have an emotive value in it. What I mean is, you understand whether you have to pull it or push it. You don't need to put a word on it. Don Norman talks about it in Design of Everything, where there's an entire chapter dedicated on how door handles could be designed. The same emotion value actually goes if you look at the CPU, at the backside of a CPU, where there's no chance of doing an error, as in each plug is mapped to a different kind of socket. So there's no chance that you can by mistake put something somewhere else. There's another physical world example also. Do you live in an apartment? Does it have a basement? Okay, if you go to an apartment with a basement, am I taking up time? No.
No, you should have.
Okay. If you are staying in an apartment with a basement, what you will see is that the staircase which takes you to the ground floor gets discontinued after the ground floor, and there is a separate staircase taking you to the basement. It is done because in case of an emergency, the user is not aware of the situation and is in a panic mode. There's tendency that he would run and go inside the basement and get trapped there. So also by physical parameters like this, you can kind of have a better user experience, or you can design for a safer user experience. So you can take some physical measures. It need not be that always it has to be a soft interface, but you can use these rules or kind of these logic-based parameters to design both your functional interfaces as well as physical tangible interfaces. Last thing is you cook, right? So by common sense, I presume that you would keep all your handy stuff near you so that you don't need to rush somewhere, get it. So that is also kind of an intuitive design of an user interface where it's a physical interface, where I have my oven and I have my shelf above it. So if you look at it, like all these rules actually work everywhere. So that's pretty much around it.
And that's it. That's all the time we have. I think you're still here, so in case you guys
Yep.
have any more questions,
If you want to
can
catch
call
up,
him.
I'm free. And my email ID is rray@thoughtworks.com. If you have any queries, I think the beamer's off. Anyway, if you have any queries, drop me a mail. I'm happy to answer. And I talk a lot, so excuse me for that. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Please don't forget to give feedback for this
Yep.
workshop and the event as a whole. There's a QR code and the URL. And I guess you guys also have sheets.
Okay.